Coming up tonight in the Cruise View, we're here, finally on board the Quantum of the Seas for the inaugural sailing of both the ship and the Cruise View. We'll be taking a look at our first daily dining experience with American Icon Grill, and our first venue, of course, will be a look at what it took to get the Quantum to this point. So join us as we see what went through today as we boarded this brand new ship for the first time. Now, let's set sail. Welcome to day one of the Cruise View's inaugural sailing, as we are finally on board Royal Caribbean's brand new ship, the Quantum of the Seas, for her inaugural sailing. And we'll be on board for 19 total days, so we'll be able to cover everything this ship has to offer as we sail on both the 8-night inaugural sailing and the 11-night Southern Caribbean sailing. We'll be starting off, of course, today in Quantum of the Seas home port, Cape Liberty, New Jersey, before taking 2 days at sea to get down to her first ever port of call at Port Canaveral, Florida, a Thanksgiving Day in Nassau, Bahamas, the first ever tendering operation at Royal Caribbean's private island of Coco Cay, Bahamas, and then 2 more days back at sea to get up to Cape Liberty once again on December 1st to start that 11-night Southern Caribbean sailing with 2 days at sea before arriving in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Phillipsburg, St. Martin, Fort de France, Martinique, Bridgetown, Barbados, and finally Basseterre, St. Kitts, before 3 days at sea to get back up to Cape Liberty, New Jersey, her home port, to end the Cruise View's sailing. And of course, today our location was Cape Liberty, New Jersey, the Quantum's home port. And it was a surprisingly nice day to give this beautiful ship a sail away, as even though it was November 23rd, almost Thanksgiving, it was beautiful weather. The compass stayed at 37 degrees, but we actually had temperatures in the upper 50s. We had winds of about 12 knots, and according to the sea map, there's a jet of calm waters shooting out of the New York area just ahead of Quantum of the Seas, which is giving us 0 to 3 foot waves at this time. So hopefully those sea conditions will continue. And as we set sail at 4 p.m., we got to see a beautiful sunset at 4:33 p.m. today. And as I mentioned, today was the first day, and that meant we also got to use the brand new cruise terminal in Cape Liberty, New Jersey, that was built specifically to handle this class of ships. And at this point now they've handled 1 unloading of the 8-night transatlantic, a couple 2 to 3 night sailings, but this was the first true test as it's the first full-length sailing. And of course, that meant a lot of questions on whether Royal Caribbean could live up to their 10-minute promise, and unfortunately, they did not today at least. And while the terminal is beautiful inside and out, I did time the journey from arrival to ship, and it actually took 52 minutes and 11 seconds today, far cry from that 10-minute promise that they had given us originally. Now, we did arrive a little bit early. We got there about 10:20, 10:25 for a 10:45 scheduled arrival, but that ultimately cannot be blamed for the delays, as the timing of each segment was significantly longer than even the promised 10 minutes. So as soon as you arrive in Cape Liberty, New Jersey, and you get to the new terminal, there's a series of roads that you can pull into. There are different ones for buses, taxis, drop-offs, and you just find the appropriate one for you, pull in, and start unloading your luggage. Luggage porter will be waiting for you, and they'll attach the RFID tags to your luggage. And that is in addition to the tags that were included in your cruise documents that you should already have attached. As each tag is added to the bag, they'll tear off the receipt, which is a little slip of paper that's a sticker and includes a barcode. And they'll hand those to you. And that process ultimately took us 4 minutes and 2 seconds to complete. And once your luggage is all set, you'll head over to the terminal and actually enter. And it's a much different terminal than any other one in existence at this point. It's just a wide open space, basically a huge warehouse. And you'll either look for somebody standing around with a tablet, or somebody with a tablet will find you, and they'll handle your entire check-in process. So you'll hand them your set sail passes. They'll scan the barcodes on each one. They'll swipe each of your passports, make sure all your information's correct, verify that your photos are good. If anything is missing, they have a series of desks they'll send you over to get that taken care of. Otherwise, they'll stamp your set sail pass as complete and send you off to security. When we went through this process, they had tablet issues, the first of many IT issues for this new class of ships, and had to go to IT for help, go to supervisors for help, and ultimately that process alone took 8 minutes and 3 seconds. So Royal Caribbean's claiming their average is about 7 minutes and change, and that single step already had us at the 8-minute mark. But once we got past there, we were off to security, and that's a series of different lines you can go into that each have an x-ray machine for any belongings you have, as well as for you to walk through. And in that area, they had long lines and once again ran into issues. A lot of the different security officers are complaining that the machines are too sensitive. They're getting a lot of false alarms on passengers. And as a result, it took 8 minutes and 34 seconds just to get through that area. And once through there, you can then go to have your photo taken. There were a series of small banners that had absolutely no line because they really aren't that nice and nobody cared about them, but there was only one true ship picture that you could have a real welcome aboard photo taken at. And in order to have that, it took 16 minutes and 31 seconds. But once we were through there, we were all set and it was time to wait. And unfortunately, since it wasn't open, there were a lot of people and it did not seem like they had enough chairs. One of the things that they claimed they were not going to need at all and clearly did not prepare to need in this case. But it took about 7 minutes and 54 seconds from the time we got done with our photos till boarding finally started. And at that point, it was then another 7 minutes and 5 seconds till we got through the checkpoint and we're finally on board the Quantum of the Seas. So once we finally got on board, while we were a little bit early, we actually did not get on the ship until 30 minutes after the listed boarding time. So even if we got on board at the same time and we got here the time that was listed for us, it still would have been significantly longer than that 10-minute promise that Royal Caribbean had given. But this was the first time, and hopefully all these IT issues will be smoothed out. The terminal itself looks beautiful and there's tons of space, so it should be able to handle these crowds. They just have a few things to work on, and ultimately it will be a significantly better and smoother experience than what we're used to. And then, of course, once you get through that terminal, you are on board the Quantum of the Seas. So we're now going to head to the first venue tour of this sailing of the CruiseView, which is a look back at the Quantum of the Seas and how she got to this point. Quantum of the Seas story starts where Project Genesis ends. In December of 2009, the Oasis of the Seas was officially a cruise ship sailing in the Royal Caribbean fleet. That meant the team in Miami was ready to move on to their next big build, Project Sunshine. Over a year later, on February 11th, 2011, Project Sunshine 1 was officially ordered from the Weir shipyard in Papenburg, Germany for a fall 2014 delivery. Just over a year later, on February 29, 2012, a second order was placed for Project Sunshine 2, with a delivery of just 6 months later in spring 2015. Things remained quiet once again for almost a year until January 31st, 2013, when Sunshine 1 officially had her steel cutting ceremony and the name Quantum of the Seas was born. At the same time, Anthem of the Seas was named as the second ship. On February 24th, 2013, in an unusual move, in a very early announcement as part of the 85th Annual Academy Awards, Kristen Chenoweth was officially named the Godmother of Quantum of the Seas.
I am Godmother to Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Quantum of the Seas.
Go to Royal.
On April 16th, 2013, after over 2 years of Project Sunshine being officially known to the public and not a single image known, the first major announcement took place in New York City. During this event, they announced the major features of the ship, including bumper cars,
Gotcha, Elio!
Hey Nolan, let me tell you something.
North Star, 270, and the Seaplex, along with the fact that she would be based in New York City. Just over a month later, on May 22, 2013, a press release went out announcing the inaugural season of the Quantum of the Seas, and a week later, on May 28th, booking officially opened. On August 2, 2013, the Quantum of the Seas officially had her keel laid at the Weir shipyard, and on the same day, the Anthem of the Seas, in another area of the shipyard, had her official steel cutting ceremony. Just under a month later, on August 30th, the Quantum of the Seas gained a third ship, as the third vessel in the class was ordered once again from the Weir shipyard for a mid-2016 delivery, and an option for a fourth in 2017 was officially signed, though in January of 2014 they decided not to exercise that option for a fourth ship. On September 9, 2013, Genevieve Gorder became the first advisor to the Quantum class, as she officially became the Experience Advisor of Design. Just over a week later, in one of the biggest changes to the Quantum class, Weir became the VP of Entertainment and officially took over all things related to the entertainment and production shows on board the new Quantum class. On October 7th, Dahani Jones was then named the second Quantum Experience Advisor as the Experience Advisor for Sports and Fitness. In a week of rapid events, on November 19th, the Anthem of the Seas officially had her keel laid at the Weir shipyard. 2 days later, on November 21st, it was officially announced in an event in London that she would be
calling Southampton her home in 2015 and taking guests to many great destinations in the region, including in the Mediterranean. And then in the winter months, she will move to Fort Lauderdale and sail Caribbean cruises.
November 28th, on Thanksgiving Day, as part of the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, Quantum of the Seas Godmother, Kristen Chenoweth, was featured on board the Royal Caribbean float, and Mamma Mia was officially announced as the production show for Onboard Quantum of the Seas.
And introducing Onboard the smash musical Mamma Mia.
And singing New York.
After another lengthy 6-month period of no information, on March 26th, Dynamic Dining was officially announced by Royal Caribbean at a special private event in New York City featuring small venues to replicate the new Quantum dining experience. Roughly a week later, Michael Schwartz, announced as the lead for Michael's Genuine Pub, was officially named as the Quantum Experience Advisor for Culinary. On April 16th, China was then named the new home port for Quantum of the Seas, starting in June 2015 after leaving in May. At the same time, it was announced that Anthem would then be arriving in Bayonne in November 2015 rather than heading to Florida. On June 2, 2014, the first piece of the Quantum class officially saw the light of day as the first Anthem Megablock was floated out of the Weir building hall. On June 6, Kristen Chenoweth, the Godmother of the Quantum of the Seas, officially added the extra title of Experience Advisor for Entertainment. On June 11th, during a special Google Hangout online, Weir and Kristen Chenoweth announced the official entertainment lineup for Quantum of the Seas. On August 12th, as things started to speed up towards the delivery of the Quantum of the Seas, Royal Caribbean officially announced some of the art on board the Quantum, along with Afar, the 30-foot-tall magenta polar bear. The very next day, after several days of delays, on August 13th, the Quantum of the Seas was finally floated out of the building hall, along with the second Anthem of the Seas Megablock. Later that day, both Anthem of the Seas Megablocks were floated back into the building hall. On August 25th, Royal Caribbean then made their official Smart Ship announcement during a special event held at the actual Weir shipyard with tours of the Quantum of the Seas and all the new technology.
It's a smart ship. How smart? 6 ways to Sunday smart. 6 ways that will blow you away and blow alternative forms of vacation travel out of the water.
On September 5th, We Will Rock You was finally announced as the official Broadway show for Anthem of the Seas. On September 18th, the official steel cutting ceremony was held for the third Quantum-class ship, and at the same time, like with the first two, the name was announced as Ovation of the Seas. 4 days later, on September 22nd, after several days of delays and poor weather, the Quantum of the Seas finally saw her Ems River conveyance and made it to the ocean the next day. After some sea trials on October 4th, the North Star was finally installed. Following some additional sea trials where issues were discovered, on October 23rd, the Quantum of the Seas arrived in Hamburg for an emergency dry dock, during which adjustments to the bow thrusters and calibration of the filters took place. 2 days later, on October 25th, the day the Quantum of the Seas was originally supposed to be delivered, the Quantum left the dry dock in Hamburg and went out on another set of sea trials. 3 days later, on October 28th, while at sea, the Quantum of the Seas was finally delivered to Royal Caribbean and became an official ship in the Royal Caribbean fleet. The very next day, on October 29th, the Quantum of the Seas arrived in Southampton and began her life as a passenger vessel. Following a series of pre-inaugurals on November 2nd, she boarded her very first paying passengers and headed out on her first transatlantic from Southampton to New York City. 8 days later, in the early mornings of November 10th, she finally arrived in New York City to her brand new home of Bayonne, New Jersey. And so it's been a long journey for the Quantum of the Seas, 5 years basically, with a lot of different hurdles, a lot of innovation, a lot of trial and error on Royal Caribbean's part, but they've ultimately delivered a quality ship that really lives up to all the promises that they've set forth for the actual ship itself. It is a beautiful ship with tons of room. Today, as you walked around, never felt crowded, tons of space, definitely can handle the capacity that they've set for this ship. And even within the rooms, there's tons of space. They feel much larger than many of the staterooms in the fleet. And of course, they have much more storage than we're used to seeing. They certainly put a lot of thought into what people do in their cabins, what people bring, what they have to stow away. And they've taken all that into consideration to really design a cabin that actually works for the passenger rather than just somewhere to sleep, that meets their basic needs while on board the ship. These actually accommodate what you would want. And as you walk around the ship, the quality can be seen in everything. It's really a step above any other ship in the fleet, and even down to the basic elements. The most common thing that you see on this ship are chairs. They're truly everywhere you look. It's hard to look anywhere and not spot some kind of chair. And while many ships have similar chairs, you can tell they did bulk buying. Royal Caribbean certainly did not cut corners on anything here, especially the chairs. Every venue has its own theming, its own styling, and not even just one style of chair. Every venue has 3, 4, 5, even 6 different kinds of chairs that meet its individual style. So they certainly did not go bulk or cheap on anything when it comes to this ship. And in addition to the quality of the build itself, the staff on board has been incredibly friendly. Some of the friendliest staff I've seen. It certainly lives up to the hype of the inaugural standard, and this brand new class of ship and what Royal Caribbean's built for it. And when you walk around the ship, the one thing that you immediately notice is it does not feel like any other ship. After sailing on the Oasis in 2010 when she set sail, she instantly became my favorite ship in the fleet. And now after just one day walking around the Quantum, I can easily tell that this ship is miles beyond the Oasis class ship. In fact, it makes the Oasis class ships look like they're just an extra large Voyager class. They really do not look like the leaps and bounds ahead that they once did when compared to how different and innovative this class is than any other one that we've seen before. But her main problem, as we've seen for months now, is Royal Caribbean's IT department. Ever since they announced dynamic dining, we've seen nothing but issues. We've seen issues for years. I don't think anyone's been surprised. Everyone kind of knows at this point Royal Caribbean's IT department is clueless on everything. We've seen website issues for years. When they announced the smart ship, it seemed pretty clear this was gonna go wrong, and it certainly has at this point gone wrong, and that's not changing on board. We of course saw tons of dynamic dining issues with booking, from issues with reservations canceling and not being able to make them, sites being overloaded, things just not working properly. But they've always assured they'd be working on the ship. And ultimately today that's not the case. So far nothing IT related has actually functioned on board this ship. Everything from the Royal IQ app, not functioning at all. The billboards throughout the lobbies, not functional. Even dynamic dining, checking in there, was not functional. They were using paper and writing people's name in. So it seems like every aspect of technology Royal Caribbean's IT department has been responsible for has not functioned on at least this first day. So we'll have to see if it improves at all, but they've certainly not done anything for their reputation, and they've certainly not done anything for the executive team that has still never acknowledged any of their shortcomings. In fact, during the christening ceremony, Richard Fain acknowledged the IT department, something he has yet to do or any of the executives done. Nobody has wanted to admit that they've had issues since dynamic dining opened up, but instead of addressing some of the problems, he acknowledged their success and the great things they've accomplished, which clearly, from what I've seen, are not true, as things are nowhere near functional in terms of IT. So they've got this beautiful ship here, great crew, everything works, and until you try to use technology. And unfortunately, they've really shoved the technology into everything, so it becomes pretty noticeable when these things are not working. But technology is all software-based. They can upgrade it, they can change it. Hopefully, they'll get rid of their IT department or make some major changes to the executive team who are clearly responsible for all these issues that are happening with this new class. And in 6 months, couple of years, maybe things will be working. In either case, the ship is fully functional. It is clearly the best ship in the class, and once that technology catches up, it's going to be hard for any other ship to really compare to the Quantum of the Seas. And of course, going along with these technologies, the root of them all have really centered around the new dynamic dining concept. If you haven't heard of it, they've removed the main dining room from the ship. Instead of a set dining time each day that you go to a massive dining room, sit down, same waiter, they have the early, late, my time dining, all that usual stuff. You now have dynamic dining. So you got 4 complimentary restaurants for everyone. You've got American Icon Grill, Silk, Chic, and the Grand. Each night you can pick one of those venues to eat at. You're allowed to book online ahead of time so you can plan it out with your entertainment, get everything figured out, know where you're going to eat. Today I found out that if you did not book ahead of time, you're only allowed to book 2 days out. Not quite sure why you can't book the full 8 days, 11 days, whatever your cruise length is. You can only book today and tomorrow, and then you have to keep coming back each day or every other day to book the next 2 days out. So it is definitely a bigger hassle if you do not do things ahead of time. So even if the site's crashing, if everything's blowing up on you, call Royal Caribbean, get it taken care of, because it will be much better than what you'll have to experience on board. And for me personally, they canceled a show at the last minute, so I had to take care of that and verify dining, and they do not make that situation easy. It's an IT system, which of course means it does not function right at all. If you needed to rebook that entertainment, you have to go to one place, book that entertainment. The guest services can't access it. But when you're booking that entertainment, of course, you need to schedule around your dining, which they have no access to. So you have to go to where dining is, check your dining schedule. So if you're trying to coordinate them, figure out which show, what dining, make it all work, you're ultimately going to be running back and forth between two different places because neither party can see what the other has or do anything for you. So it really just does not work. You do not want to deal with anything technology on board the ship because it is far worse than even what is already a horrible situation online. But if you just work through it, you'll get a great experience. It's definitely worth it, as today, our first daily dine of this voyage, there are 18 venues on board, so we got 18 venues in 19 nights. We'll get to feature every single one. We're going to look at American Icon Grill tonight.
Hello, my name is Daniel. I'm from Romania. I'm the American Icon manager. Welcome to American Icon. American Icon, it's the classic American road trip. Here you'll discover America, the beautiful, the mouth-watering, with the famous dishes from cities spanning sea to shining sea. You'll find here the famous New Orleans gumbo. You'll find the Nebraska shore ribs. You'll find as well the Southern fried chicken. This venue is open breakfast, lunch and dinner. Lunch is on the days at sea, breakfast every day as well dinner. It is a place where you find your comfort food zone. You come to enjoy in a comfortable place with landscape around and the iconic pictures on the walls where you discover the beautiful of America. Thank you.
So, American Icon Grill, my first dynamic dining experience tonight. And I can personally say, while I did not like the dynamic dining concept, haven't really been a big fan of it up to this point, it has lived up to all of Royal Caribbean's promises, mainly because it's not IT related. And for the first experience, I was certainly surprised. We had 7 p.m. reservation. There was ultimately a 10-minute wait when we arrived, which was IT's fault. Their system was down, so they were using a handwritten tablet and writing down everyone's room number and comparing it to a list that they had to sort out who had reservations and where they should go. So hopefully if IT gets their act together and that works, that wait will help go away. But when we got into the venue, we had great service. Food was excellent, definitely a notch above the quality of any other ship that I've had. Everything looked great, it tasted great, it was just an all-around great dining experience, and it took 70 minutes from the time that we sat down till we were done with our dessert. We hung around a little longer, sipped our coffee and tea, and enjoyed our dining experience, but we never felt rushed. You're never forced out of the venue. It was still a relaxing experience, but it did not drag on. Everything just sort of flowed. And I think part of that might have been due to the technology that the waiters had. The tablets they were placing the orders on, when they worked, it seemed like it went straight to the kitchen, and the food ultimately was able to get back out much faster. So at least day 1 of dynamic dining was a very positive experience, and of course we'll see how some of the other venues are, how it turns out when you start repeating the restaurants with this new limited menu system. but at least the process of dynamic dining does work, and those promises they've made actually are true when it comes to this one. And so now, as we've completed our venue and dining, we're now going to move on to the entertainment with our compass summary for today. And they've made a few changes to the compass for Quantum. They've got what you usually expect, but they also have a new music and dancing section that offers some different bands, some things happening around the ship. Overall, the new compass is, in my opinion, a little confusing. Those items that are in that new section are bands, they're different performances, but there are also bands performances included in the regular. So when you should look at one or the other, it doesn't really make sense. You kind of have to look at both, and that music and dance is ordered by the act that's performing, not really the time, so it gets a little confusing and very easy to miss some of the things that are going on. And in addition to that little confusion there, they also had a very different setup than any other first day compass I've seen. There was no section on the muster drill. The most that was mentioned was a single line item in the compass itself in the activity section. It was not noted any more than a spa chore or any other basic item. So not sure why they really downplayed that, but it's a little unusual. And departure time was not mentioned a single time throughout the entire compass. There was no sail away party, no departure time. In fact, our original departure was 5 p.m. They adjusted it a couple months ago to 4 p.m. But at about 4:30, 4:45 in that area, there were several people out complaining that they did not realize departure was now 4 o'clock instead of 5. So it was definitely an omission of the compass that was clearly noted by all the passengers on board. And I'm not really sure why they would have left such a major detail out. Could have been related to the 2 and 3 night sailings, all those pre-inaugurals where departures were 7, 8 o'clock. They were late, they were during dining, maybe they weren't really focusing on it much, but it was noticed on this more normal sailing. And with this new compass format, there's also a new entertainment style. You've got multiple shows a night, but you only make reservations for one showing. So as we go through each day, I'm going to be looking at the entertainment, the different activities that I looked at for the day, focusing on some of the highlights, but I will not be focusing on every evening show every night as they are repeats. But today, as soon as we got on, we took care of our different dining and entertainment issues, and then headed straight to North Star, which opened at noon today. And at that time, the line was fairly short. We got on the second ride. They've had a couple issues that delayed opening it by about 5-10 minutes, but we ultimately got on. While in Cape Liberty itself, they can only go up and down. They're not allowed to go off the side of the ship at all. But you still get a great view over the ship, great view of New York skyline, Statue of Liberty, and of course, it's a great experience and a great way to start your trip. So I do recommend that as soon as you get on Quantum, head straight to North Star. It opens at noon. Enjoy it and start your vacation off with a great view of the ship. And then tonight, there was not a whole lot going on. It was in general a very bare compass. But the ship in general has a different style than others. As you walk around the ship tonight, there's singers, performers, all sorts of things to just sit and watch everywhere you look. There are DJs all over the place in all the different bars, including Bionic Bar, DJs, bands performing in 270. And of course, in Music Hall, you had the ship's band, Horizon, playing, as well as tonight, the first tribute band, Slippery When Wet, a Bon Jovi tribute band, and they performed for about an hour and a half, and it was an incredible performance. really showed that they are no longer marketing for that older crowd or that younger crowd. They're kind of going for that 20, 30 group. It definitely feels like a different vibe as you move around the ship. Even just right now in the Bionic Bar at 2:30 in the morning, there's music playing. It's hard to find a place on the ship that there is not some kind of music playing. Even the hallways at the cabins at 2 in the morning, there's still music playing. So it is a very active ship and quite a different style than we've seen on any of the others. But it's certainly a welcome change, and we'll see what the Compass brings tomorrow. Hopefully it's a little fuller, we see some more things. But the main thing that I'm hoping to see is at this point we have not seen any mention of inaugural. We haven't heard anyone mention the term. So that's a little disappointing that this hyped up sailing has pretty much been ignored and treated as another preview sailing. But we'll see, there's still 7 more days. Hopefully they start doing something to make it special, and either way, still on Quantum of the Seas, brand new ship, brand new experiences, all sorts of firsts to see, which will be a great experience in either case. But that ultimately brings this episode of the Cruise View to an end. Tomorrow we'll be taking a look at more dining and venues as we head to Silk, the second dynamic dining venue, which is also complimentary. And we're going to take a look at some more of the active features of the ship as we look at the Flow Rider and the Rock Climbing Wall, 2 now Royal Caribbean signature items, and see how they work on board the Quantum of the Seas. So hopefully you'll stay tuned, check out the future episodes, and of course check out the links to follow to some of the other videos from today and around the Quantum of the Seas.